Hello, my name is Oscar. I study at the Pan American University of Puerto in the Faculty of Education and Humanities School of Modern Languages. In today's video, I'm going to provide a quick overview and explanation regarding meaning and semantics. So, before delving deep into the topic, let's begin by exploring the definition of meaning. And meaning actually refers to the definition, purpose, significance, or underlying intent of a word, action, expression, or concept. So this is very interesting because meaning this definition of meaning encompasses a lot of what we're going to discuss further in this video, beginning with now the types of meaning, where we have two important terms which are semantics and pragmatics. Semantics and pragmatics, in very few words, they both study meaning of words, phrases, and expressions in language. However, they have some key differences. So, the main difference between semantics and pragmatics is if they take into account the context and both the speaker and listener. And the difference is this: semantics mainly looks at the literary meaning of words, phrases, and expressions. All right? And it also studies how the different words and small particles within a sentence or a discourse interact with each other to create a larger meaning. But as I said, the difference is that is the limited scope of semantics. Pragmatics do the same thing, but they take into account the context and the speaker and listener. Okay? So, pragmatics takes on a larger scope than semantics. Because looking at the context of a language interaction greatly broadens the different meanings that one can find within words, expressions, and sentences. Okay, so as a general description and definition, that's how we can differentiate both semantics and pragmatics. But the important thing to take into account is that they both study meaning. And as we said, meaning refers to the definition, purpose, significance, or underlying intent, and that is where pragmatics comes in, of a word, concept, or expression. Now, looking at semantics in more detail, we have already established the scope of semantics, what it does, and I'm going to discuss 2 points to say it in some way to further understand semantics. The first point is that there are a couple of associated terms to semantics that is important to study and know about, which are denotation and connotation. So, denotation refers to the literal meaning of a word of expression. Meanwhile, connotation refers to all the possible meanings a word or expression could have. So both terms relate to semantics, and it's important to know them and know the difference between them. So when we're discussing denotation, we are talking about the literal meaning of words. And connotation, all the possible meanings a word could have, a word or expression could have. Now, let's look at the point number 2, as I said, which is the two semantics categories. As I said, there are two of them, which are lexical semantics, which again studies the meaning of individual words. Okay, lexical semantics studies the meaning of individual words. Meanwhile, compositional semantics, also called phrasal semantics, which is the other category of semantics, studies the interaction between words or phrases that are within a discourse and how that interaction creates a larger meaning. Okay, so what I really enjoy about this is that everything that we have discussed after studying the definition of meaning itself, we can see that everything is already explained or mentioned in the literal meaning, in the literal definition of meaning. And what we have done is delve deeper and deeper to understand better each section of that definition, of that initial definition. So let's discuss a couple of examples just to comprehend the theory that we have just discussed. And let's see. A example of semantics, as we said, semantics is the study of the literal definition of the literal meanings of words. So we could have, for example, the word of words or phrases, sorry. But yes, for example, we could have the word blue, right? And the meaning of blue refers to the color blue. And that is the literary definition. So up to that point, the semantics covered the topic, right? If we looked at the use of the word blue within a social context and an interaction between two different people, we could infer or we could possibly find more possible meanings for the word blue, depending on said context. Now, things like expressions or idioms, which are figures of speech, in other words, or common expressions, fall into the pragmatics category. Okay? So, for example, if someone said, "It's cold in here, I am freezing," the semantics would tell us that the person is stating a fact that they're suffering, that their body is literally freezing, which fails to grasp the actual meaning of the expression that is being said, which is, as I said, a figure of speech or a common phrase. If we analyze that same expression, "It's cold in here, I am freezing," from the pragmatics point of view, pragmatics would first register the meaning, the literal meaning, but then adjust it in relation to the context, to the social context, and both the speaker and the listener, as we have been discussing during all of this video. So, what is the true meaning of "it's cold in here, I'm freezing"? It's simply a way to say that you are very, very cold, but without actually freezing. Okay, so I hope that made that clear. And as I said before, we have delved into every part of the definition for meaning itself, looking at semantics, pragmatics, associated terms with semantics, and semantic categories. So, and finally some examples. So I hope everything was clear, and thank you for joining me today for the video, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye for now.